This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Wednesday, the 30th day of September in the year 2020. I'm Gordon Mosley. Here's what we're tracking tonight. Tear gas and pellets were fired at squatters in the Success area this afternoon as they held their ground in a standoff with the police as a bridge linking the main road to the squatters' settlement was destroyed.
We saw the police them came in and took Sister Roslyn. Prior to that, they started busting some shots. They got the little kids them out there. You understand? A set of little kids get shoot. And this is wrong. The government should look into this thing here. People just looking for piece of land. So why should they go through these things for piece of land?
We was just standing there talking to the police officers them about the land. They come for break down the bridge and they come for move people from in there. Said that how we got 1 hour before they start shooting and violating people. We just stand up, they stand up, and they just start firing off shot just like that. They start firing off shot, and I was right at the front in the line, and that's how I get it. Because all the people telling them is that we need land, we squat here, we ain't thieving, we ain't do nobody nothing. Most of we a single parent.
The police were called in by the sugar company Guyana, which has been trying to get the squatters off of the lands, even threatening to begin flooding the lands. The lands being occupied by the squatters belong to Guyana and some to the government's holding company Nissil. In a statement today, Guyana said it is currently in the process of reviving its operations along the eastern Marara, and the squatting on its lands is hindering the land preparation process. The company said the lands at Riseless, Success, and Chateau Margaux on the east coast of the Marara are the property of its Enmore estate. It wants persons to desist immediately from occupying the lands. But some of the squatters claim that they have been occupying the lands for over 5 years, while others recently started their occupation.
The pellet when it start for pelt around and start for fire bullet, I get shoot all from my hand, all behind my foot, all in my mouth, in my clothes, all take off your see it. He so collect it. We don't have no raise the single parents, and I got 4 grandchildren for take care and look after. I don't have nowhere to.
What would they do to we? What would they doing to poor people? We not got a life. They're shooting. What would they kneel down? They're shooting people. People, little children. We not got nowhere to go. If Anali, please, if Anali come out and talk to us or give me something. We not got nowhere to go. And you're gonna kill me. You send your force, kill me. We not got a life. Me want dead.
Back in 2015, just after the APNU-AFC government took office, there was a rush to grab land in the areas after persons were told by activists of the PPP that the lands would have been distributed to persons from the communities. The last government at the time of its ouster was making moves to have Nissil purchase some of the Guyana lands to develop into housing areas. The project never materialized. Now, with the new government making moves to reopen some of the closed estates and the new management in place at Guyana, many of the plans of the last government have been shelved, and the deserted Guyana lands may form part of sugar production again. More news coming up in just a moment. Mobil Special and all other Mobil lubricants are distributed by Sol Guyana Inc. Mobil Special and all other Mobil lubricants are distributed by Sol Guyana Inc.
Hi, I'm Akira Johnson.
And I'm Kellyanne Connolly.
On Sunday, October 11th, the Ministry of Human Services and Social Security will be celebrating International Day of the Girl Child. My Voice, or Equal Future, is this year's theme. What does that even mean to me? Well, it is a day to be highlighted and address needs and challenges girls face while promoting girls' empowerment and ensuring our rights are protected.
Girls can do anything. We can control our future. I want my future to be where women are in leadership positions, founders of businesses, and CEOs. What do you want your future to be? The ministry wants to know. How? Use your phone to record 45 seconds to a 1-minute video. To express yourself, show how it feels to be a teenager, and what are your dreams for the future. So if you are the ages between 9 and 14, take up this challenge. Use your voice to share your views about your future.
the official distributors of Castrol Marine, Mining and Power Gen lubricants in Guyana, now has in stock CRB engine oils, high-spin hydraulic oil, Vecton semi-synthetic truck oils, and Sultex cylinder oils. For the best prices, check our dealers countrywide or visit Falls Gas Station at Land of Canaan, East Bank, Demerara, or call the commercial manager on 608-4998. Castrol, it's more than just oil, it's liquid engineering.
Been through it all.
But as a people, we have
Weathered every storm.
And risen to every challenge.
Because it is the people of Guyana
that gives it its strength.
All the people,
regardless of race,
class, or religion.
We are one people, one strength.
And now is our time. A time to rise. Together, we rise.
For all the Zoom hashouts and recipe tryouts, the world changed and we were right there, standing with you, always near, getting closer in so many ways, laughing together as we face these days. And because we are Caribbean, we've got a special insight that tells us there's no need to worry, world. We'll be all right.
Mobil Special and all other Mobil lubricants are distributed by Sol Guyana Inc. Mobil Special and all other Mobil lubricants are distributed by Sol Guyana Inc. Welcome back. Declaring that the government appears to have no plan or a strategy to handle the current COVID-19 situation in the country, the opposition APNU-AFC today described the government's handling of the pandemic since taking office as disastrous. There are more than 1,000 active COVID-19 cases in the country, with 82 deaths recorded as of today. 2 more deaths recorded today. 62 of the 82 deaths were recorded in the past 2 months, with September being the deadliest month for the pandemic. During a virtual press conference today, APNU-AFC Member of Parliament, Dr. Karen Cummings, said the PP Civic's first mistake when it took office back in August was to abandon the plans and strategies left by the APNU-AFC government.
Since the PPPC government assumed office on August 2, 2020, there seemed to be no definitive plan or strategy on how to address the COVID-19 pandemic. Their immediate move to abandon the strategic plan left in place by the APNU-AFC coalition government was foolhardy at best. The APNU-AFC government, or should I say former government, recognized the need for the involvement of all state agencies and sectors of society to combat this dreaded disease. The PPPC further dismantled the prevention mechanism available for the disease contagion.
Cummings, who is a medical doctor and who served as the junior health minister in the first 3 years of the previous government, said unless proper measures are put in place by the government soon, the situation with the coronavirus pandemic in the country could worsen.
Hence, their lack of foresight and inability to govern for this disease has resulted in an uptick in positive cases and the skyrocketing of deaths.
In offering recommendations to tackle the growing problem, Dr. Cummings said messaging about COVID-19 must be consistent and persons must understand the threats that exist because of the virus. She said the PP Civic government moved to remove regional health officers in the middle of the pandemic, and that was not a good move, especially since those health officers were integrally involved in the fight against COVID-19.
4 regional health officers, RHOs we call them, of one ethnic group, being the African race, from regions 3, 4, 6, and 10, were removed from their duties in the middle of the pandemic and replaced with political hires and PPPC candidates. For this reason, we have seen a rapid rise in the number of cases.
Question about what she believes could have been done differently by the APNU-AFC government during the first 4 months of the pandemic, Dr. Cummings said a lockdown should have been instituted and additional measures at the ports of entry should have been looked at. Under the PP Civic government, there has been more testing. The increase in testing, however, resulted in a backlog that went on for weeks. That backlog in testing has since been cleared. The Ministry of Health continues to call on citizens to follow the guidelines. Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony, who just after taking office described the APNU-AFC's response as a calamity, now says he doesn't know what more could be done to curb the situation, other than to encourage persons to follow the health guidelines. With the opposition leader saying he is open for discussions with the government on national issues, President Irfan Ali believes the opposition needs to first recognize the government and the president as legitimate before any such discussions could begin.
You have to be able to accept that I am the person you want to work with. So there are a number of things going on. If you look at some of the statements that the opposition is making, and then the opposition leader is saying that he doesn't recognize the government. So you can't speak with someone you don't recognize. If you're coming to talk to me and you're telling me you don't recognize me, what are you coming to tell me? That you don't recognize me? So you can't have a serious discussion with me if you don't recognize me, because you're speaking to someone you don't recognize.
During a recent press conference, opposition leader Joe Harmon said he remains open to discussions with the new government, and the fact that the coalition sees the government as illegitimate should not stand in the way of discussions on national and other important issues. But according to the president, while he remains open to meeting and having discussions with anyone, the opposition must get it right when it comes to the legality of the government and his presidency.
So we have to get it right. And I hope he gets it right very soon. Because if you come to me, you can't come to me to tell me you don't recognize me. And if you're coming to me, it means you recognize me. So the opposition leader has to make up his mind and make that very public. But you have a president who's open. I am very open to all Guyanese. That's the first thing.
The president's position mirrors the position of his vice president, Barbados, who also said recently that the opposition cannot want discussions with a government it sees as illegal. The opposition has reminded that just after the 2015 elections, although the PP Civic did not see the coalition government as legal, the then president still had almost regular discussions with the opposition leader at the time on many national issues. The National Executive Council of the Alliance for Change is set to gather for an emergency meeting on Sunday. The meeting will discuss the way forward for the party following the decision by APNU councillors and one of its own AFC councillors to go against an agreement and vote against the AFC nominee for the Region 4 Vice Chairman position. The APNU councillors and one of the AFC councillors supported the APNU nominee who landed the position. AFC General Secretary David Patterson tendered his resignation from that position the same day, arguing that the agreement between the APNU and AFC had been breached. In a statement today, the AFC said it remains committed to its principles of liberal democracy and the advancement of coalition politics as the best solution for the country. The party denied reports in another section of the press that it was planning to align itself with the PPP. The AFC said it is not engaged in any such discussions. Opposition leader and General Secretary of the APNU, Joseph Harmon, was quoted in today's Stabroek News as saying that the APNU will probe the move by its councillors to go against the agreement that had been reached over the Region 4 Vice Chair position. The APNU and AFC had reportedly agreed that in Regions 4 and 7 the APNU will get the chairmanship position while the AFC will have gotten the vice chairman position. At the Region 7 elections, the AFC's candidate was supported by both parties for the vice chair position. But at the Region 4 elections, the AFC's candidate did not find favor with the APNU members and one of the AFC's own members at the meeting. Let's tell you now that the governments of Guyana and Exxon Mobil have signed a license for the Payara offshore development, further expanding Exxon Mobil's investment in the local oil sector. The approval of the project follows several reviews and consultations by local and international experts, according to the Ministry of Natural Resources. The project in the Stabroek block is expected to produce up to 220,000 barrels of oil per day after startup in 2024, using the Prosperity floating production, storage, and offloading vessel. $9 billion Payara development will target an estimated resource base of about 600 million oil equivalent barrels, and the largest single investment in the history of Guyana, the company said. According to the Ministry of Natural Resources, in the licensing agreement, the government has insisted that routine flaring is strictly prohibited without the approval of the Environmental Protection Agency. Flaring to maintain oil production will not be permitted, the ministry said. Additionally, under the agreement, Esso Exploration and Production Guyana Limited will pay the government for the cost of gas wasted during flaring, and will also be subject to fines under the EPA related to emissions from flaring. The Environmental Protection Agency will establish a framework for a price on carbon to conform with international standards. The Exxon company today said it is committed to building on the capabilities from its Liza Phase 1 and 2 offshore oil developments as the company begins the Payara development. Police and prison officials are seeking the public's help in locating convicted prisoner James Moore, who escaped from the Lusignan jail on Tuesday afternoon. According to a statement from the prison director Gladwin Samuels, the 23-year-old prisoner, who was serving a 3-year sentence for armed robbery, was discovered missing after conducting duties in the prison's kitchen. It was until 4:30 p.m. yesterday that he was discovered missing from his place of labor. The man's last known addresses were given as New Road Dairy and Dennis Street, Turkine. Anyone knowing his whereabouts should contact the nearest police station or the Guyana Prison Service. Now here's a strange story. A 50-year-old man from Port Kaituma in the Northwest District, who was caught engaged in a sexual act with the corpse of a woman who died from COVID-19, has pleaded guilty to the crime. He's been sentenced to 3 years in jail. The unemployed man, Leroy Chacon, appeared before the Matthews Ridge Magistrates Court yesterday and entered a guilty plea to trespass with intent to commit a sexual act. According to the prosecution, on the morning of September 26, Chacon was caught performing the indecent act on the corpse in the Port Kaituma Hospital mortuary. The matter was reported to the police and an arrest was made. The woman passed away 5 days before after being hospitalized with COVID-19 symptoms. Across the region is coming up next. Mobil Delvac and all other Mobil lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Mobil Delvac and all other Mobil lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc.
We all know a strong educational foundation is a key to successful learning. Global Technology combines award-winning curriculum with innovative technology and teacher support to help students reach their potential. Our online platform creates an engaging learning experience. Using any device, you can be a part of amazing class discussions, collaborate with others, and have access to virtual learning software. With our multiple payment methods, you will never have to leave home. Find out how Global Technology can allow you to learn anything, anywhere, at any time.
Falls, the official distributors of Castrol Marine, Mining and Power Gen lubricants in Guyana, now has in stock CRB engine oils, high-spin hydraulic oil, Vecton semi-synthetic truck oils, and Sultex cylinder oils. For the best prices, check our dealers countrywide or visit Falls Gas Station at Land of Canaan, East Bank, Demerara, or call the commercial manager on 608-4998. Castrol, it's more than just oil, it's liquid engineering.
We are legions of men standing strong, but never too proud to stoop and help someone. We must send a clear signal to all. Do right. Walk in upright ways, knowing that's what being a man is all about. And ever wear that things will only get worse when good men do nothing. Stand strong. Be the one to live right.
Mobil Delvac and all other Mobil lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Mobil Delvac and all other Mobil lubricants are distributed by Salt Guyana Inc. Across the region right now in neighboring Venezuela, a new round of protests has started to sweep the country as discontent intensifies in the country's near-abandoned interior due to worsening fuel shortages and the constant failure of public services, a local non-governmental organization said yesterday. According to reports received by the Caracas-based Venezuelan Observatory of Social Conflict, over 100 protests have taken place since the weekend in 19 of Venezuela's 23 states to demand authorities to provide water, power, and fuel. The OPEC nation's collapsed oil industry is no longer able to supply Venezuelans with fuel for their cars, and the years of mismanagement and corruption have left much of the infrastructure bringing power and water to homes in ruins. A strict COVID-19 lockdown enforced by the president since March has further limited Venezuelans' movement and sources of income. Barbados' Prime Minister Mia Mottley believes that workers in the tourism and travel sector should be given priority access to vaccinations and therapeutics when they become available to fight COVID-19. The Prime Minister expressed the view yesterday during the opening ceremony for the two-day virtual meeting of the 58th Directing Council of the Pan American Health Organization. She said it must be done in such a way to ensure the safety of workers, adding that it is for the reason that she has been advocating that workers in the tourism and travel sector be given priority access to vaccinations once they become available. The Prime Minister said as one of the most tourism and travel dependent regions of the world, the Caribbean will have to find a way to jumpstart the economies in the region. And finally, at this time, international news. The Vatican has denied U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo an audience with Pope Francis. The Holy See said the pontiff does not receive politicians during an election period. The move adds to a diplomatic row following comments by Mr. Pompeo about China and the Catholic Church. The Vatican accused Mr. Pompeo of trying to use that issue to attract voters in November's U.S. presidential election. In an article earlier this month, Mr. Pompeo said the Catholic Church was risking its moral authority by renewing an agreement with China regarding the appointment of bishops. U.S. President Donald Trump received support from conservative religious movements, including conservative Catholic voters, some of whom think Pope Francis is too liberal. Human rights groups say many Catholics in China are persecuted and driven underground for pledging allegiance to the Pope instead of an official Chinese Catholic association. Despite that, in 2018, the Vatican made a deal with China to have some say over the appointment of Chinese bishops. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting.